The burden of atheism. The act of not believing in God goes by a few different names. Before I get into the practicality of this religion, or non religion as some might say, let's go over these important terms. Atheist. An atheist means you reject all belief in any type of deity. Alternatively, theist in fact believes in a god or gods. Agnostic. Someone that thinks there is a possibility that God exists but has not seen the evidence. Gnostic means to know many knowledge of any such topic. Secular, used as an adjective to describe anything as non-religious. Deism, belief in a higher power but not sure exactly what. Unlike many other beliefs, atheism doesn't really have one specific origin story. Because it's a rejection of religion, one could cherry pick from history specific anecdotal rejections of different gods. Our first known written history comes from the Greeks and Indians around 5 and 6 BC. The Goras of Melos is considered by many to be the first atheist. Written anecdotes indicate that he spoke out against the Greek gods. This eventually led to his death, organized by the Athenian government. Executions were common practice for most people found to be atheists throughout human history. Today, there are still 13 countries that use the death penalty for non-believers. Because of these harsh punishments and how socially unacceptable atheism was and still is for many, it was pretty much unheard of before the Renaissance era. During this era, names like Leonardo da Vinci and Michael Montaigne started to emphasize humanism, philosophy, and science while still believing in God. After this, executions for atheism became far less common and was basically eradicated from the Western world. As time passed, the French Revolution saw the first well-documented group of atheists come together. They were named the Cult of Reason. This was supposed to be a replacement for Christianity, however it only lasted a year before it was replaced by the Cult of Supreme Being, a deist organization that was eventually banned by Napoleon. The most notable discovery that fueled atheism comes from Charles Darwin and his theory of evolution in 1859. This idea led to widespread public controversy. It divided the scientific community and outraged people of faith. In 1917, we saw the first communist country established. This country also happened to have an atheist agenda. I'm of course talking about Russia and the Bolshevik Party. It eventually got changed back over to Orthodox Christian by Joseph Stalin in World War II. Though the impact that the Bolshevik Party had on atheist ideology was significant. The only country to ever officially declare itself atheist was communist Albania in 1967. Nowadays, atheism has a definitive leftist stance and is often thought of with radical communism. Being a non-believer is on the rise in the US. What was once only a 5% of the population in 1974 is now 30% of the entire population. This is not only happening in North America too, but also in Europe. Many Nordic countries are largely non-religious. Alright, let's get down to the details of proof. A lot of people say because atheism never makes any claims and only rejects them, it doesn't need any proof. This is where the topic turns into a slippery slope. The way I see it, there are 3 types of atheists. The first being a negative atheist, also known as agnostic, which does not require proof as it is more of an I don't know answer to the question of universe origin. The second type being a positive atheist. This is someone that asserts there is no God or gods. For this you would need proof to reject claims from every religion. Of course many religions will vary, but looking at evolutionary biology and astrophysics is a common way to attempt to disprove many of them. Let's consider the stars as evidence for a minute. In 1929, Edwin Hubble discovered that the universe was expanding, and so the thought came about that maybe at one time it was all in one spot. Thus, the Big Bang Theory was born. Of course, we all know they claim to know this due to telescopes. These telescopes have 3 different ways of detecting information: cameras, spectrographs, and interferometers. I could get into how these telescopes work, but to be honest, they are fairly complicated. The point is, each person has their own belief about the legitimacy of these telescopes, just as any other machine or measuring device out there. If you believe it, these telescopes tell the beginning of the universe as we know it, giving more information about how the universe came about than any scripture ever to exist, all the way down to the light photons that were emitted. Still, some say our discoveries are divine. Now, to be fair, answering the question of why the Big Bang happened is still a mystery according to science. This is where the third type of atheist comes in, which is called a faithful atheist. These atheists use the idea of an eternal universe and don't necessarily think that the Big Bang was the beginning. Finally, let's explore the morality of atheism. Atheists deny an objective morality, meaning they don't believe there is a right or wrong way to go about every situation. Those that do implement a moral reasoning tend to base it off of human rights, also known as secular humanism. Well, that's it for this one. If you haven't figured it out by now, I largely support atheism. Let me know if you do too, and if you have any questions for me. Peace out, y'all.